approach and not do it like some people I've seen that are like, don't do that anymore. No, that's not going to get you the reaction that you need or want, and that's going to shut the other person down. Especially a man. If you tell a man, I don't like it when you do this, oh, he ain't gonna think about it twice anymore. Or you're going to have really bruised his ego. There are some strong men that can take that, but most of the time they're gonna just be like, okay, that's it, I'm done for the moment, or whatever. So it's a way to do things. It's a way to go about things, and you want to approach things in a delicate but firm manner when you're talking about sex, because it is something that is soft and round, right? So, guys, listen. I'm not here to talk about sex today, right? My show today, we have a treat, guys. Listen. My guest on the show, her name is Danielle Cooper, but we so affectionately call her Coop. We are former co-workers. We used to teach together, you guys, and in a former life, I was a teacher. I'm always an educator, but I am no longer a teacher in the public schools. But this baby right here made an impression on my heart, and I can't wait for you guys to listen to our conversation about divorce today. So when we come back on Power Play Radio Network, she'll be sitting next to me and you'll get to meet my treat today. Yay! We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Candyology on Power Play Radio Network. Sitting to my right, I don't know, is that your left? He might be your left. My right, your left, is Miss Danielle Cooper. What up? So, listen, fam, I didn't tell them really too much about you. Okay. Not too much. Okay. So, kind of tell them who you are.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
No, I need you to tell them.
Oh, you want me to? Okay, well, my name is Danielle Cooper, as Candy said. We talk together. I am still in the education field. I'm an instructional coach. I have 2 beautiful daughters, one who's a senior this year. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm busy and crazy out of my mind. Let me see. I've been in a relationship now for like 6-7 years. We're good.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
I've been divorced. Okay, so yeah, I've been married before, but I am divorced. Been divorced for now almost 13 years, something like that. Yeah.
So let me go ahead and just ask this off the bat.
Okay.
How did y'all get to be married? Like, I like to know people's love story to tell me about the darkness later.
Let me see. I met him. I was a senior in college, and my roommate actually introduced us to one another. Yeah, so it's her fault. But if you listening, Tanya, it's your fault. So we met, and we kind of, whirlwind, and he wasn't. He was in school at one point, and then he broke his ankle, and so he didn't go back to college. But however, we kind of, fell in love, whatever. Progressed on. I graduated, waited about 6 months. We ended up moving in together. Yeah, that boy, cohabitating.
Cohabitation.
Shacking, as my mama them would say.
Them old school people. Shacking.
So I felt like, that was like the progression of what my life should be. Go to school, get a degree, meet somebody, get married, eventually have kids. And that's kind of what happened. And through the, we got married. Let me see, I graduated in 96, we got married in 99, and had my first child in 2001. And on the day of the wedding, something just wasn't right.
What wasn't right?
I don't know what it was, but it was something speaking to me. And thinking back, I even told my sister.
It's still small voice.
Okay. Don't do it. And I said, don't do it. I got all these people here. People come from out of town. Don't do it. But I did it anyway. And so we kind of clicked. We would, I like to crack jokes, So we would laugh a lot, crack jokes, just enjoy one another. And then something took a turn once I had my first child.
What do you think happened?
I really honestly think he expected me to be like his mother. That's what I think.
Like his mother in a real sense, or like his mother as in her characteristics?
Maybe a mix of both. I'm not to cook 3 meals every day, knowing I have to go to work also too.
Didn't you mean I'm not either?
I don't know. I guess I was taught to be, make sure you know how to cook for your man and all that kind of stuff. But 3 meals a day, and things started to be a problem. If I didn't get up, you had to work too, but you wanted me to get up, cook breakfast every morning. Yeah.
Did his mom work?
I don't think she worked growing up. She was a stay-at-home mom. His dad is a pastor, so she was. There's
different standards for us when we cannot be stay-at-home moms. Continue. I'm sorry.
So I think that was kind of a breakdown. I remember, and I know I'm kind of jumping. I'll just get me back on track. There were some points in the marriage where if there was something I didn't agree with, or and I was a softie, I cry. So I was like crying. He's like, your tears don't move me. You're not my mama. I'm like, wow, but I'm your wife.
Right.
You don't have no feelings. Something hurt my feelings. So
if you want me to be like your mother, then revere me in the same regard. Oh, okay. Continue. I'm sorry.
But over time, I think if we start talking about the breakdown, I was willing to work through a lot of stuff just because I felt like, we're married. There's some things that I'm going to have to, I keep doing that. But it's some things I'm going to have to go through. So I didn't mind working through issues or working through problems, but when the aggression was more than just a verbal thing, that's when, I'm like, maybe I should have listened to their voice.
So, did he show signs of aggression before you really took notice of it?
I'm gonna say there was maybe one instance, and I probably should have took that one instance. Probably should have, you know, paid attention to that one instance before. Was we were getting into it about something, and he's like, "Sit down." I'm like, "No, I don't want to sit down. I want to stand up." And like, "Just sit down." And you know, and I passed it off as many women do. He just wanted me to sit down, but I should have.
But did he force you to sit down? Is
Yes.
that what? Yeah, that's the first sign.
And then when I had my first child, she wasn't quite one yet. I don't believe. And we were going back and forth, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna go because I can't do this arguing back and forth. And he grabbed. He's not going nowhere with my child, you know. Kind of grabbed. I was like, oh Lord, you know, is he gonna hurt my baby? You know, because now I'm a mother, so I'm thinking like, I gotta protect my baby.
Right.
It's not just me. If you know he being aggressive with me, I got a whole baby. So I thought, you know, call the police, but then I said, am I acting too hasty? So I ended up calling his mother, and she was of the mindset, you have to go through some things sometime in your marriage. Don't call the police, Danielle. Don't call them.
Call him.
You know, and I'm like, shoulda. But I was like, okay, you know, maybe I can get through this, and we can kind of maybe try to talk through it. But I always kept it in the back of my mind, like, okay, this fool might be, you know, out of balance. So move on, maybe 2-3 years later, I'm pregnant with my second child.
Continue.
Yeah, because we didn't. It wasn't, you know. And I get to that. Ooh, Lord. Okay. So then, move on. 3 years later, pregnant with my second child, and I was tired. You know, you hold a whole baby inside a whole other person. You get tired. You don't want to just do. You know, I was doing laundry. I was like, oh, let me take a nap. Well, he was mad because the laundry wasn't folded. Yeah. And so we got into it. And I'm like, I'm tired. I got a whole other person in me.
Right.
I'm just using that as an excuse. And he ended up pushing me into the wall. So I'm like, I'm pregnant, 911.
Heck yeah.
They come out. They make light of it. Could it be just a misunderstanding? Could it be?
This wasn't the time when his brother was here. Right?
Oh, no. That's the third time. That was
Okay.
you know, that was the start that broke the camel's back. But yeah. So.
Okay. Continue. Continue.
And
Hold on.
so, yeah. So, you know, the police kind of, you know, maybe you just need to leave the house for a minute. Told him, you know, she's pregnant. You know, no, I didn't say I was pregnant at first, and then I said I could possibly be pregnant. Still covering for him. I knew I was pregnant. So,
and this is the story that a lot of women have told. You know, all of these warning signs and all of these things that we do to cover up for the fact that this person is abusive.
Yeah, because in my mind, I'm like, you know, I still love him. I want him to get in trouble, but I want him to stop doing this thing.
Right.
I just want him to stop doing. If he can stop doing this thing, then we'd be okay. So after that, I was like, well, maybe you need to go to counseling. I'm not going to counseling. Nobody fix me. I don't tell nobody my issues, my problems. Like, that may help us.
Right.
So during the time that I was still pregnant, he told me, he said, well, you know what? At some point, I can't remember exactly, but at some point I was still pregnant. He said, after you have this baby, I'm going to just leave. I said, okay. So
you going to abandon me?
I think I was 6 months pregnant. So I had from 6 to 9 months to think, okay, what's my plan going to be? If he leave, you know, I'll stay here, but I'm going to have my oldest, who's now, she would be 2 or 1-ish, and then I'm gonna have a baby.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna have to have my mama come here, but what am I gonna tell her when she comes, you know? Because she was coming for the birth of the baby. So I'm like, am I gonna tell her that, you know, he told me he's gonna leave me and now I'm gonna be divorced?
Which is still a form of control, you do realize that.
So I was like, okay, he gonna leave. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna fight him on it, leave. So the day that I had a baby, he didn't stay at the hospital that night. Unlike the first child, he came that next day and he picked us up And so, in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, are you going to leave? Because I've been preparing. My mama told me about putting some money to the side. She taught me well. So I'm like, okay, I'll be good. I said, are you leaving? You know, I know you're picking us up, but are you leaving? Oh, I think I'm just go ahead and stay. Okay. And then, too, you know, I'm thinking like, you think I'm crazy. But at that time, I was still like, do I really want to be in this relationship? But I'm married. I'm a married woman. I got to make it work. I got 2 kids. Got to do something. So, went on, and I guess you fast forward maybe 2 years. Like, oh, wait a minute, let me back up. Whenever I said get counseling, get some help, after he told me he would stay, maybe you just need to get some counseling. It's not like I do this every day.
It's still abuse.
It is. He said it's not like I do this every day. So I'm like,
you shouldn't do this at
but
all.
you do it, and it has happened. So you need to do something. Then fast forward them 2 years maybe. Remember the first one, I didn't call the police. The second one, we was living in another city, called the police, and they said somebody need to cool off. Third time, we living in another city. This one was the big one. We had kind of just been into it, wasn't really getting along. We were in the process of moving, so my babies were in Galveston with my parents. And I was on the phone with my mother. And he's like, who you talking to? Who you talking to? And I'm like, you know. She's like, why is he raising? Why is he yelling? I was like, don't worry about it, Mama, you know. And he's like, who are you talking to? And before I knew it, he had ran over, like bulldozed me out of the chair. The phone went flying. And I'm thinking, I got to call 911. Wow. So,
Jesus.
Yeah. I don't know where I had read it or heard it, but I knew if you dial 911 and push send, that would trigger the police. I don't remember.
I know I read that somewhere
it was
too.
Something somewhere. I don't rightfully recall, but the phone went flying and I went flying. I was like, let me get to my phone. If I can just do 911 and send, somebody gonna come help me. Because his brother was there. It was only me, him, and his brother. And his brother wasn't doing nothing. So I'm like, what's wrong with this fool? You know.
And that's the problem. Family members stand in the background and don't do anything sometimes.
Yeah, and he was right there in the mix, wasn't doing nothing. And so I think I was trying to get out the house. His brother was in front of me. And next thing you know, I feel like this pulled me down the hall. And I'm like, oh, Lord, he's going to fight me. And so I'm like, don't fight back. Just cover your face. Because if you got to go to work, you don't want nobody to see bruises on your face. I don't know why I was thinking like
that we think about.
But that's what I was thinking. So I covered my face. And I was just like, oh my, would you stop? You know, yelling, stop. And I think by that time I had dialed 911 and seen at some point. And his brother was just standing there. I was like, you're not going to do nothing. He's like, D-man, stop, man. And I'm like, okay, really? So finally get out the house. The police do come. And I tell them, you know, he choked me, did this. They said, well, we don't see anything. Mind you, this is like maybe 7:30,
we don't see any
o'clock.
bruises. I called 911 for no reason.
And said, I don't see any bruises. I'm like, look at my skin. You won't see it until in the morning.
Right.
No, we don't see anything. We're just going to. So at this point, I feel like if I call the police in another city, they'd help. Call the police in this city. I don't want to be a Lifetime movie. I mean, not, you know, I didn't want to wind up on the news and, you know, I didn't make it. So, because it was just escalating. The push, you know, I was pregnant, now the drag and the hit, and I was like, I just can't do this. So at that moment, I started planning how I was going to leave. I didn't say anything. I called my sister, and she was the only one really in the know of everything that was going on.
How long did it take you?
It took me another year. We ended up moving, and my babies came back, and I was just like looking at them. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't want to make it work. And at that point, I didn't. I tried to search myself. I was like, Lord, help me. You know, what do I do? And I was like, I can't do this for my babies. I never wanted them to see it, so I was like, I can't.
So my question is, okay, so it took you a year, right, to get that. You started the divorce process?
I did.
Did you start the divorce process during that year, or was it after that, at that 1 year mark that you got there?
After I ended up leaving and me and the girls left, it was maybe, I left in 2006. The divorce was final. February 14th, 2009.
Oh, on Valentine's Day?
Happy Valentine's
What? Wait, so 2000 what? The first start?
2006 I left. 2009.
Oh my gosh. That's 3 years. No. Yeah, that's 3 years.
We were separated during that time, and I could have went ahead with the paperwork then, but, I'm like, okay, how am I going to tell my babies? How am I going to tell my girls? And, I'm considering them, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
So your breakup affects everyone around you, right? So is there a right way or a wrong way to tell people that you're getting a divorce?
Well, the people on the outside, my inner circle, which was at that time maybe about 4 or 5 people, they knew, they knew the real deal. And that didn't include my family. Because I knew if I told my brothers, I'm thinking like if I tell them what's going on, this fool put his hands on me, they gon',
they about to whoop them.
I'm a little sister, so they gonna come. And I didn't want them to, I'm like, okay, if I tell my daddy, that's my baby girl, so. And then I was like, if I tell my mama, she gonna tell them. So, the sense making, it's crazy thinking about it now and even speaking it out loud, but that was my sense making then. It was.
So the whole 3 years they didn't know?
Well, after we separated, they knew. I'm like, we just separated. I didn't really tell them the whole dynamics as to why. We're not getting along good. I just don't want to be married no more. That's kind of how I played it out.
So I call it your elevator speech. And one of the things that I was thinking about when I was doing research for these shows for the last couple of weeks, I was thinking about that very question. Is there a right way or a wrong way to tell people? And your inner circle knows, but the outer circle of other people don't really know. So when people come towards you, it's like, oh, well, what do I really say, right?
Yeah.
So I call it an elevator speech, and I have my elevator speech down pat, y'all. First of all, according to Psychology Today, you should always write a divorce elevator speech, and I didn't realize that I wrote it until I read it. Right? So it says, define the divorce. How do you want it to be seen? So isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, you got to really think about how do you want it to be seen. So you were telling, we weren't just, your words was, we just really wasn't getting along and things too well, but they didn't know that you was being abused. They didn't know that it was mental and emotional and physical abuse, right? And that was the case with me too. And I'm gonna tell you at the end of this, I'm gonna tell y'all how I did it though. And then it's like, speak the divorce that you desire, right? So, yeah, but everything will work out and it's amicable. We'll be all right.
And trying to make sense of everything.
But only the real people know the truth about it, right? So then it says also issue a call to action. So did people try to reach out to help when they figured out that
whenever so I told at that time my principal, and of course they have a wealth of I didn't want people advice on what I should do, because I didn't want anybody to sway my decision, but of course you should do this and you should do this, and I'm like, okay.
So they offered all kinds of an opinion, right? So in the elevator speech, it says issue a call to action, because then that negates them from getting all of that, right? And so you can tell them what you can do. Coop, I just need you to pray with me. Pray for me, baby.
Yeah. Just pray for me, it's gonna be all right.
Right. It'll be all right.
It's okay. And then I go in my room and be like,
right.
It's gonna be all right.
So it's about, do you want that emotional support, or do you just want somebody to pray for you, or do you physically actually need something? When you, it depends on who you're talking to with that call to action, right? So then, always be closing. So I thought this was really funny too, because it's like, okay, so now I told you what you can do. I don't want to talk about this no more. Speaking of family, how your family doing? How the kids doing, girl? Are you all right? Oh, okay. So you can get away from folks, right? Did you do that?
I did. There were many times, like I said, I had that inner circle, but people, you know, they knew like, oh no, I'm just separated now. Oh, everything's going okay. How are you and your kids? Like, you know, are the girls okay? You know, because they were, oh, your girls okay? They're fine. How your kids? How's your husband?
Right.
Y'all okay? Exactly. That's what I would do.
And then the last one was like update people on the facts and the changes, right? So you kind of throw that all into always be closing. You know, oh yeah, the kids are fine. We're almost done. The court date is November something. Okay, anyways, how you doing, girl?
And some of them I didn't even give them that much information,
right?
Because I was just like,
it depends on who it is, right?
And get it done.
So like I had it down pat to where people would ask, and I'm like, oh yeah, so I found an apartment, and we have a court date on the 24th, and everything is great. Colin is fine, and how you been doing, girl? And sideways, how you been doing? Because I was throwing it off to make sure, and I'm just a hot mess.
Yes.
And you just go through those things, and but I thought that was really neat that they call it an elevator speech, because you don't realize that you're doing it, you do it.
You don't, but that's exactly what it is.
But we have to pay some bills real quick, so we got to take a break, but we will be right back on Power Play Radio Network. Welcome back, and you are watching Candyology. I'm your girl, Candy J, and I've been sitting here talking to Coop. Okay, her real name is Danielle, but I'm sorry. We call her Coop.
That's okay. That's okay. You can call me Coop on the air.
But we were talking about, that elevator speech that we were giving everybody with divorce. So let me ask you this question. So I call it a divorce toolkit. When you think about a divorce toolkit, and I'm more talking about physically, emotionally, spiritually, what do you think that should have been in your divorce kit looking back? Like, when you went through all of these different emotions and all of these physical things that you had to go through, financial, what would have been in your divorce kit?
I think one thing that's essential to having your divorce toolkit is somebody who you can lean on, somebody you can talk to, somebody who you can, that crying partner, because I was a ball of mess for a while, not really, I think it was more so because I felt like this is a failure, I done failed at this marriage, so having somebody to go to who was a true listening ear and let me get things out and not trying to impart their ideas or their opinions on me, that's one good thing to have, somebody who you can talk to.
Yes, absolutely. So, that is number 2 on my list.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's number 3 on my list. A therapist, pastor, or support group. But also number 2 kind of falls into that, but we'll talk about number 2 in a minute. Okay. Therapist, pastor, or support group, or that could have been a friend. But I think it's very essential that you always have somebody to talk to.
Yes.
But number 2 is that emergency friend or family member to speak. And here's what a lot of people, I feel like, and you tell me how you feel. A lot of people don't think about the fact that your emergency contact was that husband.
True.
And how do we used to save it in the phone? Was it ICE? It was ICE before we got these new fandangle phones, but it was ICE. Who was your emergency contact? And it
was him.
Most likely it was that spouse, right?
It was.
So and this broke me all the way down when we had this conversation with some other divorced people, because you didn't think about the fact that now, who's my ICE?
And you know what? My ICE ended up being my sister. And she's even still my ICE to this day. So that's my person that's on my emergency contact. She lives in Mesquite. Hey, but yeah, she became my ICE person. She was that person. She is that person.
And isn't it crazy? Like that. Like, I don't, and all of them broke down when I was talking to this group of divorced ladies. They were like, I never thought that I would have to think about that emergency friend or family if I went to the hospital, if something happened to my kids. Somebody has to be that person. And they all broke down when they thought about it, because it's just something that you don't automatically think about until you really need it. So that's why I put it in the divorce toolkit. Because it's so essential, and you kind of avoid that emotional connection to it if you think about it beforehand, or right before you're going through it.
I agree with that.
One of the other things is have a self-care routine weekly or monthly. Now, I think self-care is every week, right? Yes. But it's something that you forget about when you're going through a divorce. True. What do you think?
I think so. My self-care, a lot of times I had, like I said, I had a group of friends. I had that inner circle, but then I had that group of friends that would be like, okay, cool, we're going to get you out. And that was my self-care, just getting out, just releasing, going out, having a good time, whether we were going dancing or what have you. It was.
What else might you be doing, cuz?
That's another show. You can invite me back for that one. But yeah. So, that was my therapy. That was my therapy. So, at that point, that... okay, but at that point, whenever...
think about the memories, huh?
Oh, yeah. Whenever I let go and moved on and moved out, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to just live a little bit. Because I felt caged. He had me like, not like he controlled me or anything, because a lot of people didn't know I was married whenever I would go back home and visit, because he never came.
Oh.
It was me and my girls.
Wow.
So, you know, it was like me and my girls all the time. And even when we were at the house, it would be like, oh, can you watch it? I'm going to tell you a stupid thing I did. He was a smoker. He smoked cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, could you watch the girls for a second while I go do this? You know, I'm a teacher, so I'm bringing work home to do. Mm-hmm. Can you watch the girls? I'm not. Well, I'm finna go outside and smoke a cigarette. I'm like, can you watch it for a second? When I come back in and smoke a cigarette. So I said, okay, he keep taking these smoke breaks. I'm going to take some smoke breaks. For real. And my mama told me I was stupid too. Started smoking so that I could go out. He was like, he would tell me,
oh my gosh,
for real, he would tell me like, you don't even smoke, but if this is how I gotta get a break, you know. And I would go outside, go on the patio, puff on the cigarette 2 or 3 times, maybe 4, put it out a little bit, and it'd be something else. I'm like, I can't throw that away. I gotta save that for tomorrow. I know, it was so stupid, but I felt like that was the way I could get a break. I did. I'm so, oh Lord.
But the things that we do for our mental sanity, though.
That was so stupid, but that's what I did. But,
I mean, you gotta do what you do sometimes.
Because he would not, it was always me and the girls, so I'm like, okay, I just need to breathe. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, he take these smoke breaks, hell, let me go take a smoke break.
Right.
And I was smoking Durell, menthol light.
Shut up.
And so when I would come home, go visit my parents and gals, they're like, you smoke? What's good? Right. That's how I get my breaks at home.
No. So you took away
stupid. Just stupid. And I picked up a habit and I was like, this is not my habit, Lord. Take this from me.
Is there anything else that you can think of that would be in your divorce toolkit?
Let me think. Having somebody good to talk to, having that release, that group, being able to just get some things, and having some you time.
That self-care.
All that self-care. Church was a good thing.
Oh, yes, Lord. But, you know, not everybody is religious, so that's why I didn't put that one on there. Yeah. But that's why I said therapist, pastor, or a support group, something. But the number one that I put on there was figure out what your new routine would be for certain things without that significant other. And the reason why I feel like that should be on your divorce toolkit, because now, for instance, at the time that I got divorced, Colin was 2. So we lived upstairs, and my ex-husband used to walk him down the stairs or carry him for me because I've had 2 back surgeries. So I really wasn't supposed to be carrying the baby down the stairs. So he would carry the baby down the stairs, put the baby in while I got all this stuff. You know, as a teacher, we would take home stuff. Girl, you know.
We graded at night.
Right. With our rolling car and my purse and my laptop and all that stuff. While I was putting that stuff in the car, he would be putting the baby in the car for me, right? And with his little diaper bag or whatever, so I could go drop him off. Well, I had to think about it, and I really had to figure out, now how am I going to get this baby down the stairs with all these like 5-6 bags that I got, safely put him in the car. I don't want to leave him. Do I leave him? Do I stay? I mean, it's early in the morning, you know, no matter what neighborhood, you know, people might be trying to steal the bag. Like, how do I do this? You know, and I had to figure it out. Like, I had to start packing the car at night while he was asleep so that I could carry him down. Because most of the time he was asleep when I was taking him out. Or, for instance, what's the routine now about picking up the kids?
Yeah.
You know, who does certain things, you know?
And I think because that was my responsibility already, that I didn't have to change any of that, you know, so.
But can you think of anything that you did have to change that he did? Or maybe he just wanted that husband.
Next question.
Wait, somebody said you didn't even know how to smoke.
I did. Now, you know, I was like, I gotta say this. There was still some white on there, so I was like, I gotta say it. Oh boy.
So let me me ask this question. I'm gonna throw one for a loop real quick. So I think about other routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we were having sex on a regular, did you figure out how to take care of yourself?
That was part of my X-rated Toolkit. Yes.
I mean, because
thank you. Shout out to Sarah's Secret.
Hello. Wait, New Fine Arts.
New Fine Arts. Yeah, Mockingbird. Yeah, thank you. Those bullets, yes.
And I was doing a support group a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "So you sell bedroom candy? We need you." And I said, "Yeah."
It could have been bedroom candy, bedroom.
Hello.
Bob was in the drawer.
Right. Hello. Yeah. Had to be. So another question I have. So you said you had some people that you relied on, right? Mm-hmm. But did you have any other coping strategies that you could think of during that time? Because was there any triggers that would set you off into like, okay, a crying spell, or just an emotional roller coaster, or anything like that, or even PTSD? You know,
if the kids, the youngest one really, even up until now, she really don't recall being in the house with him. Mm-hmm. The oldest one does. Mm-hmm. So even when they were little, she would sometimes say, we're gonna see Daddy today, and I'm like, oh. No, how you gonna explain this? No, we're not gonna see Daddy today. We have a girl's house, and he has a boy's house, and the only girls live in this, and that's how I kind of explain. I don't know if that was right or wrong. That's just what I did.
Wow.
And that's how I kind of told him whenever I went to pick him up from my parents' house in Galveston. I was like, when y'all come back, it's gonna be our girl's house. It's gonna be our girls, and Daddy will have his house. So, yeah, but.
So do you think that because they were so very young, mm-hmm. does anything affect them now though?
Well, there are some things that affect them now as a result of some things that have happened. Like you think about the aggression that he displayed over those years. Mm-hmm. Well, that aggression came to a head, I would say, September 2016. I was in a relationship, the relationship I'm currently in, and he was, they would always have battles or, kind of get into it, because I still allow him to come to the house to pick up the girls during the time it was his time. And it was not an issue at first, because that's the routine that we've always done. Mm-hmm. And then once D moved in, it became an issue with ex-husband.
Right.
So he showed up one day to get the girls. He hadn't talked to me. And I was like, he said, Danielle, your baby daddy outside. I said, what are you doing outside? I don't know. So I went out and was like, what's going on? He was like, I came to pick up the girls. I said, well, you didn't tell me. Mm-hmm. I text them. But I'm their parent. You didn't tell me. So we kind of went back and forth. I said, you can get them, but you don't need to show up here unannounced. You need to let me know. Absolutely. Because you don't know if I had anything planned. Well, they kind of got into it because I was getting into it with it. Mm-hmm. I found myself standing in between them two, and next thing you know, he pulls a gun out of his truck and shoots my boyfriend.
Wow.
And
Father in heaven.
Yeah. And at that moment, I was like, so many things were going through my head. The neighborhood I was in, I'm like, oh, my neighbors, what they gonna think? Like I said, you think about the craziest things at the time. And I didn't realize that he was shot. I just knew he ran.
Right.
And so I was like, you out here shooting in my front yard? I'm just going off about that. And he pulled the gun out. He turned the gun and he was pointed at me. And he said, I can't rightfully remember what he said, but he was holding at me. I was like, what are you putting the gun on me for? All these things going on. And then I could hear D, yelling. I was like, what is he yelling for? So I go in the house and the girls are like, what's going on, Mama? Well, what's going on? We heard a gunshot. I said, open the back door, because I heard the bamming. that's when I realized Dion had been shot.
Wow.
And he was running. He saw the gun. He ran. I'm standing in front of baby daddy, and they said the way he turned, it was a 45 or 9mm. It entered his mouth and crossed his tongue and out his mouth and ripped his jaw.
Oh my God.
So seeing that, I'm just like, oh my God. My girls seeing it, they're like, oh, what is going on? Police call.
And this is how many years later after you guys got a divorce?
Got a divorce and left 2006, divorce final 2009, that was 2016.
Jesus.
So we've had to go to counseling for just like PTSD, because the oldest, if she hear loud, we like, is that a gun?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I didn't want to take anything lightly. I didn't want to be that parent that said, oh no, it's okay, and then they don't get counseling or something, further down the line. But he's never apologized or never said number one, he didn't get any time for it. He got 2 years of probation. 2 years probation, and I think some anger management.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy.
Absolutely.
And this all stemming from the divorce and having to deal with him because of y'all kids together.
Yes.
And so, we were talking about on the last show how, the kids, if you had stayed, they show higher aggression and mental issues and mental non-well-being because of the fact that you stayed. And 20% of them actually, pretty much, 80% of them actually pretty much get over it and learn how to cope. But that's a continuous traumatic issue, though.
It is.
If you're going to shoot oh my gosh.
It is.
Wow.
And his parents came in mind. I told you his father is a pastor. And he came and said, this could have been. This is after I've been handcuffed too. And my kids seeing me being handcuffed. Like, Mom, and I'm like, don't. And I'm thinking too,
why were you handcuffed?
Because they trying to assess what's going on.
Oh, okay.
And still, I'm like, okay, I didn't do nothing. I'm telling you, I'm complying. But they handcuffed me also. And my girl seeing me being handcuffed, like, why are you handcuffing her? My young one is a beast. She a beast. And she's like, why are you handcuffing my mom? I'm like, and I'm thinking about everything that's had happened on the news. I'm like, don't shoot my baby.
Right.
She's still a baby. I don't care. She just wants to know. I said, can I just stand right here? I don't care about these handcuffs. Just let me stand right here because I need them to know that I'm okay.
Right.
And so his father, once they took me out the handcuffs, had him in the car and pulled off and took D to the hospital, he said, this could have all been avoided.
We're going to swallow it on that.
Yeah.
We're going to swallow it.
That part. Yeah, but he said that, and I'm like, okay. Yeah.
That's not helpful.
Not at all. Not at all.
You weren't here. And you have no idea.
None.
So that actually is a great segue to what the last thing that we really want to talk about is the kids coping with the divorce, right?
Yeah.
So some of the tips that I have is avoid fighting in front of them.
Yeah.
So prior to this happening, did y'all kind of avoid arguing or anything after the divorce? Did you guys avoid kind of arguing in front of them?
Yeah, I did. I didn't really want to deal with him too much, just because I'm like, you've done some stuff that, kind of crazy. There was one time that I can remember he came to the house, banging on the door, want the kids, and, but other than that, we really didn't communicate too much. If it wasn't about the girls, I didn't talk to them.
So, did you give your children freedom? Because I know that they were young, but later on, did you kind of give them the freedom to express how they were feeling about you guys not being together or anything that was transpiring between you all?
Yeah, the girls and I have we have an open relationship, and people always talk about that. We, just tell me how you feel, and I'm honest with them about how I feel. I cut back on some stuff because I don't want them to be like, well, Mama just dialed Daddy out,
right?
Because that's still their dad, The relationship we had was shitty, but I'm sorry, but that's still their dad. So.
And that's another thing actually on the list too, is don't say hurtful or harmful things about the other parent.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to do at times because you just want to be like, yeah, he did. And
because there was a time that one of the girls came to me and said, Daddy called you a bitch. I said, but like, okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's something else that we were talking about in that group as well. They're like, well, I'm just trying to tell them the truth. And I'm like, no, but you are changing their perspective about their parent.
My thing is, they'll see it. It'll all come out.
It'll all come out.
And they know.
Don't purposely be negative about it, you know? And then I think I went in a different order than what I have written down. Don't not allow them to talk about whatever their emotions are. And seek counseling. And I heard you say that you took them to counseling. Yes. So how long do you think that they lasted in counseling, or did you guys only did 6 months, a year?
Well, actually with this, with the whole shooting thing, it's like an ongoing thing.
Absolutely, I agree. It should be. And even though that was 3 years ago now. Because I will never forget, we was at school and they were talking about Coop. Somebody because at first they said Coop got shot, and we was like, wait, what? Hold on, excuse us, wait a minute. No. So that's just something that always sticks in my mind when I think about you, because I was like, wait a minute, and then they told us the rest of the story. And I don't think I really asked you, what really happened. I just knew he was shot, and I just thought, this is crazy.
Yeah. And it was hard just dealing with that with him, to get through the point, because he blamed me, want to blame, but we've survived that. So.
Right. So if you had to give any advice to someone that is contemplating divorce or going through a divorce, what would you give them? What type of advice would you give to them?
Well, if you have kids, don't stay for the sake of the kids. If you contemplating a divorce, I think it's probably something that probably should happen. I don't advocate getting a divorce or anything, but in the event that you are, I would say I don't do the cliche stuff, pray about it.
Right.
I think sensibly. If you're being abused in any kind of way and it's repeated, you go ahead and dissolve it as quickly as possible. And get some counseling. Make sure you counseling before and after.
I agree.
So
I definitely agree. Divorce is traumatic for everybody involved. It doesn't just affect you and your spouse and your kids. It affects other family members as well. And people that loved y'all together and now have to, and now, the other thing about it is a lot of people have to then take sides, and it sucks,
It is, because I'm not from Dallas.
A
lot of his friends, a lot of the people we knew, I knew because of him, the friends that he had, other than my friends that I met in college. I really don't see him anymore. You see him, he like, do I speak? Do I not speak? I don't know what he said.
Right.
Well.
Right.
But I'm kind of over that.
I mean, but it's just crazy.
It is.
It
is.
And people don't really think about that. It's a real separation. And we talked about on the last show how a divorce is really a death. It is a death of the other, because originally you were really supposed to be meant to be with one person and for the rest of your life, because you merge a lot of things together, and then now you have to re-identify and figure it out.
You do.
You
definitely do.
But Coop, that's our time.
Oh. Girl,
I know. Well, you gotta come back.
Yes.
So listen, you have definitely been watching Candyology with Miss Danielle Cooper Cooper, sorry. Listen, if you would like to watch other Candyology shows, you can definitely go on to YouTube, and it's Candyology Radio. If you type that in, I pop right on up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribe button. Right. But if you want to follow me on any of the platforms, it is Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, Candyology CS. Yep, there you go. There my cute self go. Yes. And if you would like to hear more about from Coop, and you want to make a friend request, how can they make a friend request?
Okay,
Coop?
you can find me on Facebook, Danielle Cooper.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is that is our time. Listen, so next week, so I'm so glad that we had this story on the show today, because October starts Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? And we have Miss Latoya Forbins on our show next Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to talk about I Am a Survivor. Mm-hmm. So, many of you know my story, and I'll repeat it again for you on another show, but I cannot wait for Toya to come in and tell her story of God's grace and mercy and how he kept her through that crazy marriage. So we will see you next Sunday on I think it's October 6th, and this has been your girl Candy J on Candyology, wishing you love-filled days and orgasmic nights. Have a great day.